Pacers versus Celtics game 1. Let's talk about it. And we're also going to be talking about Taco Tuesday. We have this beautiful 50% discount prop on Logan Webb. All that in a second. But as always, let's recap yesterday's picks first. We went 3-1 on this particular slip here. Beaky ended up popping off. Honestly, this game, we got a bit lucky for Jason to even go under. We got a 3-1. Obviously, that pays nothing because we're doing a 4-man. But the stack and WNBA did hit, but CS2 could not pull through. As for the 6-man, no luck there. We went 3-3, so 50% split on that. So we got pretty close last night, at least on the 4 power. But let's try to bounce back tonight. We hit a 10x not too long ago, so I'm not worried about 2 losses. Let's go over to the NBA and start with the first pick. It's not that popular of a pick, but it is on this board, and that's going to be Tyrese Haliburton on his 3 points made. I see 8.1k people on this. Are they on the over? Are they on the under? I can't really tell. I'm guessing you guys are on the over because he did drop 6 versus the Knicks in that closeout game. But tonight, I'm telling you 100% the under is the correct play. So, of course, Haliburton here has a brand new matchup of Boston compared to the Knicks. So I took a deeper look into this matchup, and the first thing I checked was the opponent 3-point percentage versus particular teams. So essentially, Boston is one of those best teams at defending the 3-ball, or at least allowing the lowest 3-point percentage versus their opponents. So basically, Haliburton might shoot 35.1% versus Boston, but versus Cleveland, he could shoot 36.6% and so on. In this case, versus the Knicks, they hold their opponents to a 37% shooting percentage versus Boston, who has a better defense versus a specific 3-shot at 35.1%. Again, one of the top in the league. So that's the first thing I noticed right away. Boston is quite a bit better at defending this 3-ball. Next thing I checked was the season game logs versus both of these teams. And overall, we have regular season games here as well as the playoff games. So in the regular season, he only cleared this 2 out of the 3 times. He shot 2 of 6, 2 of 10, and 4 of 9. Then in the playoffs, he hit it 4 out of 7 times. And he's been absolutely chucking threes here. 12 3-point attempted here, 16 here, 10 here, 11 here, which is quite above his averages for the rest of the season. Honestly, his numbers are quite high compared to the regular season. You could see right here, he was putting up about 8 3-point attempts per game. And in the series versus the Bucks, he was still chucking up a lot of threes. So I'm not expecting him to shoot less threes. I'm just expecting him to shoot at a lower percentage hit rate. Because if you go and look at versus Boston, he definitely struggled a lot more in the 4 games from the regular season. He shot this one game 5 of 11, but the rest were 2 of 9, 1 of 3, and 1 of 5. Obviously, in these 2 games, he did not shoot many threes. We could expect that number to be a bit higher, but even if he shoots like 8 or 9 threes in these 2 games, it's likely that he would have only hit like 3 of 9. So I definitely think we have a good opportunity on this prop. But the reason I like it most, on top of all of these reasons, is just the juice that he has on these sports books compared to Prizepicks. So under 3.5 3-points made, we flagged it on OddsJuice here at minus 125 fair odds, or a 55.56% chance that he goes under the 3.5 3-points made. That's why if you're watching this video right now and you are on the over, that is not a good play. Whether it hits tonight or not, you are going against the juice. You go on a sportsbook and get plus money for this over 3.5 3-points field goals prop. So playing it on Prizepicks is a terrible play, because look, if I put $100 down on over 3.5 3-points made, I win $110. You're adding another player on your parlay on Prizepicks, and you're only winning $200. You can see how much value you're losing by playing this on Prizepicks versus a sportsbook. On Prizepicks, since no matter if I'm taking over or under, I want to be on the side that is more likely to happen. And you can see heavy juice towards the under on Tyrese Haliburton's 3-point field goals made. And it's very simple to do this, guys. Whenever you're seeing a popular pick on Prizepicks, make sure you're comparing this lines to sportsbooks and seeing if you're getting good value. All you gotta know is the higher the minus, the more likely it is to occur. And if you really want to convert this into percentages, you just take this number, minus 147 and plus 110, and you go on a no-vig calculator and type these 2 numbers in. So minus 147 plus 110 is about a 55.5% chance that he goes over that 3.5, and 44.45% chance that it goes under that 3.5. If you keep taking the opposite side of the juice on these props in the long run, you will get absolutely burned. Whether he hits tonight or not, that is just a life lesson for the long term. So Tyrese Haliburton under 3.5 3-points made is a beautiful prop. I'm going to end the slip off with MLB, but I'm going to straight into another 4 power right after it with some more NBA. So let's just go to MLB quick, and I could show you the stack we're going with here. We're going to be fading Oakland, so we're going to be taking some Colorado players on their overs. The first one's going to be Tovar here on his over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs. And as you guys know, if you've been watching the channel, I like to stack up 2 players from the same team on their over hits, runs, RBIs. I'm going to do a little explanation, nothing too crazy because I talk about it in every single video, but Ryan is going to be the second player that we're stacking him up with. Now, as I say every single time, you're going to see in the batting lineup, these guys are expected to be batting right next to each other. So second and third. So what does this mean? If Tovar gets a hit, he might end up on first base, maybe even second. That gives an opportunity for Ryan to run him in. That would fill up a run for Tovar, it would fill up a hit for him, and it would fill up an RBI for Ryan. So in one single inning, there's a lot of opportunity to catch both of these guys. Another scenario you could think of is maybe Tovar gets a hit, he ends up on first base. Ryan also ends up getting a hit, he runs to first base, Tovar runs to second, and then Diaz runs both of them in. Well, then these guys both have a hit each, and then they also have a run each, both cashing their over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs. On top of that, if Colorado as a whole is doing well, then you might have an extra at-bat. You might get a 5th at-bat for both of these guys, giving another opportunity for a hit for each of them, or maybe even a run or an RBI. So it doesn't really matter that the Rockies are 15 and 31. Things like that are not going to matter too much because we're looking at these players independently, and also they're up against Oakland, which is not that crazy of a matchup. It's not like it's going to be that tough for them to get hits. So that is why to add on to the slip, instead of just grabbing these guys on the overs, if we're expecting Colorado to have a good game and these guys to get their hits, runs, RBIs, well, that means we're expecting the opponent's pitcher to not be doing well either. So we're going to grab Aaron Brooks on his under 4.5 pitcher strikeouts. If these guys are getting hits, runs, RBIs, Brooks will get subbed out quicker. But also, if they're looping through batters, that means the pitch count for Aaron Brooks is going to go higher and higher per inning. So maybe he's throwing way over his expected pitches, and then he ends up getting subbed out early. So Colorado doing well is directly correlated with Brooks doing bad. And of course, if these guys are getting hits, then they can't be getting struck out. So we're going under on the 4.5 pitcher strikeouts. We're also going in the under because we expect him to get subbed out earlier, meaning, of course, he goes under. I'm not just going to stack these guys without looking at the juice. So first of all, on Brooks, he doesn't have that much juice towards the under. You can see only minus 119 compared to minus 116 on his over. But I chose Brooks after I chose the 2 Colorado players, because if you go over with DraftKings and check both these guys, you can see beautiful juice on Ryan, minus 135 towards the over here. And then the second player I went with was Tovar here, minus 125 towards the over. Remember, the higher the minus, the more likely it is to occur. So Ryan, in this case, is actually more likely to hit the over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs. But since we're correlating it and stacking it with Tovar, both these guys have an elevated chance of both going over together, which also makes a higher chance that Aaron Brooks goes under. And maybe you're new here and haven't seen this in action yet, so this is kind of what I hit with the Scotty free square here. So this was Pirates versus Cubs. We took over hits, runs, RBIs on 2 Pirates players, and then the opponents under on their pitcher strikeouts, and you can see this cash nicely for a 10x. So that's exactly the similar concept we're going with tonight, except now we're throwing in Tyrese Haliburton instead of a free square. If you want, you could throw in Logan Webb instead of Haliburton if for some reason you're not liking the Haliburton pick. But later I'm going to show you what to do with this Logan Webb pick instead. So decide what you want to do with it at the end of the video if you like my second option better. So this is going to be the first slip. We're going to go right back into the NBA and grab 2 players from Boston now. So tonight, I think is a good time to actually grab Tatum on his over 29.5 points. He has only hit 30 plus points twice in the playoffs, and you can see it's actually in these 2 recent games versus Cleveland where he dropped 33 and 33. But I'm going to show you why I'm liking it tonight, and the main reason is because I will be pairing it up with Peyton Pritchard on his under 9.5 points. Again, this is another popular pick. I'm assuming you guys are on the over because he's hit in the past 4 out of 5. But the under is the play, at least in my specific stack that I'm going for, with Tatum on the over points, Peyton Pritchard on the under 9.5 points. Let's talk about it a bit further here. So as I said, these are all the playoff games you could see versus Miami first and then versus Cleveland. He has only cleared us in these past 2 games here, 33 points, 33 points. That is in the past. So it's good to see he's been putting up points recently, but obviously it looks terrible that he's only cleared this 2 in the past 10 games. And normally his line is set at like 27.5. He's even boosted tonight at 29.5. The reason I like it is because it's a pace-up matchup versus the Pacers. On average, this series, there should be more points than versus Cleveland. You can see pretty low-scoring games here where Boston only scored 94 points, 106 points, 109 here, 113, 102, 104 versus Miami. Those were very low-paced games. And if you check the total tonight, you can see 221 total, which is not crazy high, but if you compare it to Dallas versus Minnesota here, see a 207.5 total, which basically means there's not expected to be as many points in that game versus this Pacers versus Celtics game, which of course makes sense. You can expect these guys to play at a higher pace than Cleveland and Miami. So that's the first thing I'm liking about this. The second thing I'm liking is the matchup versus Indiana. He's cleared this every single time this season, dropped 30 points, 32, 38, and 30, and even got it done in this first game with only 27 minutes. And you could see in 2 out of the 4 of the games, the pace was super high, 129 points here, 155 here. So hopefully it's not like a 102 to 100 game. That is not going to be good for our over, so we need that higher pace for sure. Last thing I'm liking is just the juice on this particular prop. So if we go over to another sports book and type in Tatum, you can see juice towards the over on the 29.5 points. So minus 128 on the over, minus 104 on the under. Let me just turn this into percentages again for you guys here. So minus 128 and minus 104 basically means a 52.41% chance that he goes over 29.5 points rather than under, which is only a 47.59% chance. So the over is more favored in this case. As I said, I'm going to be stacking this up with Peyton Pritchard on his under 9.5 points. Since I'm liking Tatum, I like to stack these guys up, and I could show you the game logs, at least in these past 5. You're going to see Peyton Pritchard did clear this in the past 4 to 5. If you notice, the one game he didn't hit was in this middle game right here on May 11 versus Cleveland. If we go over to Tatum's chart here, you're going to see the opposite concept. The only times Tatum did hit was in the 3rd game right here in the middle on May 11th, and on the 4th game right here. So essentially in the past 4 to 5 games, these guys have gone in the opposite direction. And that makes sense because obviously Pritchard is not in the starting lineup and he's going to get reduced minutes in tighter games. Now tonight it's not expected to be a tight game, but the Pacers are here for a reason. They're in the conference finals for a reason. So despite the fact that it is a minus 10.5 spread, I could see this game being tighter. And hopefully that means Tatum is going to be getting more minutes, meaning Pritchard is going to be getting less minutes. Now, obviously, you just see that relationship in the past 5 games, but I have some limited data from the regular season. And 10 out of 26 times when Tatum has gone over his points, Pritchard has gone under his points. So 10 out of 26 times is about a 38.4% chance that if you had taken Tatum on his over, Pritchard would also cash on his under. Now, that might not seem like a lot, but remember, if you're hitting a 2 power, you only have to hit 33% of the time because you only have to hit 1 and 3. I just showed you an edge there that it hit 38% of the time. And we're not putting this in a 2 power, we're putting this in a 4 power, which has even better payouts. So definitely an edge on this. But now the reason Pritchard is a worse pick versus Indiana than he was versus Cleveland is because if you go and check the NBA opponent 3 points made per game, you're going to see Cleveland right here allowed 12.5 3-pointers per game, at least in the regular season. Indiana allows the least 3-pointers made per game, and it's a pretty significant difference versus Cleveland, right? That's an extra 2 3-pointers that Cleveland allows per game compared to Indiana. So there's going to be less 3-pointers. Now, why does that affect Pritchard? Of course, because he scores the majority of points from 3-pointers. You can even see here on NBA scoring 57.7% of his points are going to come from 3-pointers, especially when you have such a low line at 9.5. If you're getting 1 less 3-pointer, that is a massive difference. But the fact that the Pacers allow less 3-pointers also a good edge for us. And Tatum doesn't rely as much on 3-pointers, of course, compared to Pritchard. Only about 22.2% of his points come from 3-pointers. So I'm not worried about Tatum doing worse because of this matchup. At the end of the slip off, I'm going to do a similar concept to what I just did in the first slip. We're going to go over to the MLB and grab a stack here. The first pick I'm going with is Volpe on his over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs, and we're going to be stacking this up with none other than Aaron Judge on his over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs. As you see in the lineup, Judge is expected to be batting 3rd, Volpe is expected to be batting 1st, and same exact concept to what I just explained earlier in the video. I'm not going to go over it again, but what I will go over is actually the juice. And if we go over to DraftKings, you're going to see Aaron Judge minus 130 towards the over, and then Volpe also has minus 125 juice towards the over. So great stack there, and another 4-man, but don't click off yet. I'm going to show you what to do with this taco. So Logan Webb is an absolute beauty of a taco, 50% discount, 2.5 pitcher strikeouts. This has like an 80-90% chance of cashing, so definitely be all over this Webb taco. I'm going to show you a very good method of what to do with this taco. Now, this is the only time I will ever recommend playing a 2 power. I have so many videos explaining why to never play 2 powers, but in this case with the taco, you're getting such great value. So what I like to do is just grab a player who also has very good value, and you can see at the top of the OddsJuice dashboard, we have Tyrese Haliburton under 8.5 assists with a 57% chance that he goes under that prop. So what I would do is go over to Logan Webb, pair him up with Haliburton on the under 8.5 assists, and then this would be one slip that I would lock in. But now I could go and make a second slip with Logan Webb again, but now I'm going to go over to his original prop and grab his under 5 strikeouts and the same player again. I could go to Tyrese Haliburton and grab his under 8.5 assists and lock this in. So now I have 2 slips with Haliburton on his under 8.5 assists. So obviously if he misses, this is completely chalked. We lose both slips. But you have 3 chances to do this every single Tuesday because there's 3 tacos. So obviously when you use this method that I'm about to explain with the other taco, don't use Tyrese Haliburton again, go with someone else. The reason I did this is because if Logan Webb gets exactly 3 or 4 strikeouts, well then we cash this and we cash this. So we're investing $10 and we would cash $30, so we'd triple our money in this case, assuming Haliburton hits, of course, and assuming Webb gets exactly 3 or 4 strikeouts. If he gets exactly 5 strikeouts, we'd push on this line. And again, assuming we hit on Haliburton, I believe that would pay 1.5x. Now, if he gets 6 strikeouts and more, well, then you cash this one, you lose this one. So the money you made on this one, which would be $15, pays for the slip that you just lost, and you'd be up $5. Obviously, what you're going for here is the best case scenario where Logan Webb gets exactly 3 or 4 strikeouts, cashing both props. Worst case scenario here is Tyrese Haliburton misses and you end up losing both slips, but obviously, like I said, you're going to repeat this with the other 2 tacos. It's pretty unlikely that you're going to miss your non-taco prop on every single slip you put. And the last case, if somehow Webb only gets 2 strikeouts, well then obviously you miss this slip and then you would hit this slip because you have the under 5 strikeouts in this case. So that's a good little safe strategy, guys, to do to middle your tacos and kind of get some good value and hopefully a big hit if we land in between that 3 and 4 strikeouts. So that's going to be the video for today. Good luck, everyone.